Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for participating as the panel. I'm super excited.
So the show is amazing.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to meet you all. Happy to be here.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. And Mevin, you're in India right now? You said it's...
Hi.
Hi, you're in India right now?
Nice to meet you all. Yes, it's 2:30 in the morning.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for doing it.
Mevin, you look fresh. It's
excited.
2:30 in the morning. You're still really looking fresh.
I think so.
Fabio, we can't see you.
You can't? Really?
Just me.
No, it's actually my camera was off.
Oh, hello.
And there you are.
Sorry.
Hi, Fabio. So nice to meet you.
Let me just change this. My name. Sorry, guys. I thought I was off. Honestly.
Pleasure, Patrick. How are you?
Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
He decided to ghost. I'm a robot now.
Oh, okay. You're in the metaverse.
I'm here if you can hear me.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I'm just the producer tonight. Connie's leading the show.
Yes.
So I'm allowing Connie to. But we're all recording, so if we want to get on with the talk, and we can have a little fun talk. But it's nice to see you all. And Mevin, thank you for staying up, and thank you everybody else. You all look fab, and let's let the show move on.
Great. Super excited. Maybe we can wait a few minutes before so everybody can come in.
So has it been really stressful? Because I know like the HALPERN show was running really late and I was trying to imagine what it was like back scene with you guys.
It was a tiny bit stressful. Like, oh my God, we had to switch designers. But luckily we caught it right at the end. And we had, I think, at least 2 hours to illustrate. Was it 2 hours? Yeah.
It worked out okay. So I guess.
Yeah, super fast. And thank you guys for participating. I know it was a tight schedule, but I think that's, I'm going to get into it a bit later, but that is kind of the point of, trying to compete and be known in real time, because photography is so fast and everything's so fast these days. Yeah,
but it was nice.
Yeah, the collection was really interesting. Lots
Amazing.
of patterns.
Lots of great textures.
Sorry?
Lots of great textures.
Yeah, lots of great textures. Yeah, it was really good.
It's something that rarely seen in London. It's very different from what you generally see in London.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think it's probably because he's a New Yorker, right? He has that brash New York thing, siphoned through Central St. Martin's Masters, the edginess of London, and then you get this
street like mash.
There's a little bit of Schiaparelli in it as well, if you see.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
A lot of that, which I love.
Yeah, big fan of Schiaparelli.
Who is not?
It's amazing. Cool. Wait a little bit. Oh, we can start? Okay.
Good.
So I just want to say to everybody, welcome to our first ever Connie's Crit X Fida. I'm very excited to host the crit with you and just start interesting conversations of fashion drawing. This is something me and Fida, which is Patrick, have talked about, is that, we have show studio, we have a lot of talks and panels about the designers and the clothes, but we actually don't have a lot of talks on just focusing on fashion drawing and the illustration. So I'm really honored that Patrick has asked me, because I'm also a fashion illustrator and I'm a fashion drawing lecturer as well. And I'm super passionate about the craft. And I think the thing that gets me the most is the journey of the process, the creative process. sometimes, the process is more important than the actual piece. And you find like you're in different stages of the process. And there's something really magical and personal, very intimate about that part of drawing that's not really spoken about. So what is a crit? So a crit is a space where we can create dialogue, exchange thoughts, give advice, suggest ideas, and get constructive feedback for our artwork, which a lot of artists don't really have. And if you notice a lot on social media, we can all get bad feedback and negative feedback. And sometimes I feel like that can be really dangerous because it can actually deter you from creating. And you feel a bit like taken aback and I'm not good enough. And so I wanted to create a supportive space. And, when everybody comes in from the same mindset and creativity, we can be allowed to speak honestly about things without getting hurt too much. So that was the reason why I think this is really important, as well as our objective as fashion illustrators, because now we have to compete with photography. And I think the most important thing that we want to get across is the challenge of how we are, trying to survive in this world and make money while competing with photography. And like I mentioned earlier about like photos being on point in 15 minutes after the show. So how do we as illustrators compete with that, and how does our work look like? So this was a crazy experiment where we asked our Fida members to draw within 2 hours. So it's very much like a live drawing session, but we are experimenting with the talk in terms of some of the talks are just 2 hours, 3 hours after the show. There's one that's like maybe 2 days, and there's 2 that are 1 week. So it'll be interesting to see all the differences of the timing. So yeah, we've invited the Fida members who have done some amazing work. But before I want to introduce the artists, I want to introduce the panel. So we have Fabio. I don't know if I'm going to say your last name right.
I know. It's even difficult for Italians, but it's Fabio Cique.
Cique.
Yes.
I thought it was Cique. I have a horrible American accent, so we're like Cique.
Okay.
So Fabio is a luxury brand strategist and a senior lecturer at London College of Fashion, as well as a contributor to Marie Claire Italia. So hello, thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have Jackie Mallon, who is a fashion writer. She's an educator and illustrator residing in New York, and is also the editor at Fashion United. And she received her master's in fashion design at London's Central St. Martin's before spending a decade designing for labels such as Giorgio Armani and Moschino. So, hello.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, I see you a lot at DCC as well.
Yes, I was just there. It was quite frantic trying to move from one side of the
I was there too. Trying to do both.
Unflustered.
I'm like more recording it and then drawing.
I get it.
We also have Mevin Murden, who is the Director of Education at Institute Marangoni in Shanghai, London, now in Mumbai, and is also a leading expert in the luxury brand management and international fashion marketing, PR, and events management. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you so much for staying up, by the way.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And lastly, we have Tait Porcaro. Is that how you pronounce it at the end?
Porcaro, yep.
Porcaro. And you are a fashion artist, costume illustrator, and graphic designer. And you do live fashion and beauty illustrating from the US. And her clients include Chanel Beauty, Macy's, and Warner Brothers. So very cool stuff. Thank you all for being here. And so now we can actually get to the artwork. I'm going to share my screen. So me and Patrick have gone through the selection process, and we firstly picked useless art. Is it useless? Sorry, useless dress.
Useless jar. Well, I don't know how to pronounce it right either. So
if you want to introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Jia Jia, and I'm from China, but currently I'm living in Germany since I have been studying here for like almost 5 years. And I graduated like 2 years ago at the university. It's called BTK in German. and I studied illustration, yeah. And then, but I was kind of like having the trouble after I was graduated, first of all. And while I was studying, my professor kept telling me that my stuff was really abstract, and it's kind of hard for them even to teach me, to find me a direction where to go, because they were more familiar with like editorial or commercial, but really the other kind, the kind of that you, the standard kind, the illustration kind. And so I was struggling with that. So and then I did my internship as a graphic designer. So after that, I was kind of like confused. Like one side I was thinking, so maybe I have to make my stuff look more practical. So I started to do some vector drawings, but then I was feeling really unhappy, or I don't know, it was like my whole main purpose starting with drawing was to make myself feel happy. But then somehow at the point that I was feeling that it was not right. And then after the graduation, I was going through this phase. Then, well, it was like at one point that you kept trying something. I was trying different kind of styles. And then at one point that I remember, it was just one afternoon, I was feeling like, fuck it. Just do what I want.
Quick question, can everybody see the work?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I see screenshots.
Can you see the artwork or not? Okay.
And I see only the title.
Let me do this. Sorry. I will show my whole desktop. Maybe that's better. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So
how long did this artwork take you? It's very beautiful, by the way. Really interesting technique.
This is the first one. I did 2. So this was the first one. And I think it took me maybe up to 1 hour. I wasn't counting the time, but it was a little longer because I was trying and then.
Is it on the iPad? Sorry. Is it on the iPad?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we thought it was really beautiful. You really captured the essence of maybe this one's from before. There's another one that, oh yeah, this is lovely as well. So let's put these 2 on. Sorry. Very, very beautiful. So it is on the iPad.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. So we would like to hear from our panels about your thoughts and advice or feedback on this artwork. Anybody want to go first?
Go first.
Yes.
I too think it's very beautiful. I think there's a lovely delicacy and a sensitivity, and I love that they look a little bit like dancers or ice skaters or some beautiful creatures on the move. I love how you've got the curve of the line on the one that's predominantly brown in the calf of the leg. Really pretty. Are these from today or are these from your portfolio?
And from today.
From today.
Yeah, from the show.
So I personally don't recognize the outfits, but that's not a problem for me, because I think that you've captured a certain essence or the voice of the show as you heard it. You've captured the atmosphere, the mood, but for example, you mentioned sometimes you got critiques for being a little too abstract, and like how I see the girl who's predominantly coral and beige, I see a little kind of sea nymph that is sitting on a rock by the sea, and she's got one leg tucked up and the other leg is extended with her toes pointed, and maybe she's wearing like ballet slippers or something very soft and very delicate. And I think that's beautiful as a piece of art. And if I was to recommend something for me, I would love to see more detail on the face to sort of carry off all the wonderful abstract, wavy, kind of more moody lines of the dress and the pattern. So for me, maybe you know, some sort of a suggestion of an eye, maybe a little bit more angularity to be sort of like to play with what's going on. But it definitely, I think it's something that many people would look at your work and see very different things. And so in terms of commissions where you're asked to interpret something, or where the brief is something a little bit more free, I think it's wonderful. If HALPERN perhaps wanted something that represented the show in a more direct way, maybe it wouldn't get the gig, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a spot. That's kind of my take on it.
Wow, really interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And Sue, did you want to go?
Yes, initially when I saw as Jackie so aptly named the sea nymph sitting on the rock, that now that I've heard that, I can't unsee it. But I was a little unsure which outfit it was. But then when the other one you have here, the outfit on the left, I immediately knew what outfit that was. And that one just captured my attention. I tend to focus on hyperrealism, and to see something so abstract, so freeing is very cathartic for me. And it's a lot of movement here, which I really, really love. I tend to put things in a category of, would I see this framed on my wall? And that one, I definitely absolutely love that one.
Yeah.
Agree.
Mevin, or
if I may, I think it's the beauty of these two drawings are in the fact that you capture the essence. It's not necessarily going and pick what exit that was, or that what look that was, but it's actually the essence of what the show was. I feel that I've seen the show in two drawings, which I think it's beautiful. It's part of what fashion drawing should be. It's not necessarily only as we were mentioning before, hyperrealism, but it's also the capture of an abstract of what the show means, which I find incredibly beautiful.
Yeah. Mevin?
Yes, so first of all, I wanted to say what a fabulous idea of reverse engineering the show. I think it's super exciting to see this. And for me, looking at this work, I think you've really captured the essence of the show, but also the designer. You know, I can really see the vibe here. I think he's a little bit obsessed with movement and dance. And as soon as I saw that, I just saw dance and movement, and I thought that's super beautiful. And the other thing is, yes, it's not really so clear, but I think there's always this question of whether fashion is art. And for me, this expression of the look is art. I'd frame this and put on a wall. So well done.
Yeah, well done. Thank you. Another interesting thing that came up when we were panicking backstage, because the show wasn't coming on, and we asked the illustrators to illustrate the show previously. So this is HALPERN, and it's amazing because you really captured the dancing part of the previous collection.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
This was not for this brand, and it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
BCC?
No, because Patrick wrote in the Slack that they had also this other fashion Scott. I think was that, but that was previous to this. So I was doing this for practicing before the show from Harper really started.
Oh, I see.
Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This absolutely, Connie. This is definitely look 20 or 21, spring summer 22.
Right.
One of my favorite looks. Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just seems really interesting how we did panic a little bit backstage because the HALPERN show wasn't coming on. Because you know, fashion does run like, you know, fashionably late. And so we were a little bit panicky, and we're like, should we do Marquez and Alameda? They're already out, but we just asked the illustrators to go and like quickly do one of another show previously that's already up, and I just thought that was really interesting because, you know, there's some beauty in the panic, I guess, that comes out randomly. I don't know if you all have felt that at one point or another in your careers, or you just do something like a happy accident.
Yes.
Definitely.
Always. I think that, well, what you said earlier about the process is my favorite part. And I think if I have longer than 10 minutes at a piece of art, it's a highway to disaster. So, so I think like the shorter time for me anyway, the more effective or the more pleasing to me the result is.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of the happy accident. I'm a big fan of instinct. I don't know if I can really, you know, I come from maybe there are some others here as well that came first through design into illustration. And so I think like I look for different things and I value different things in illustration, but I think I'm very interested in the happy accidents, and I'm not so focused always on the technical aspect of things. If it's just like the energy or the mood or the moment, all of these things I think make an illustration memorable. And this one, I mean, I can feel the chiffon dancing. I really can. And that's like, I don't know how you would begin to tell someone how to do that. I think it's instinct really that takes over, and maybe some happy accidents along the way.
Do you also think it's because this is done on an iPad, it's not it's digital, it's not analog. Do you think that makes a big difference in terms of like quickly getting things down? Because obviously, Jackie, you know, and I don't know about the others who do life drawing, it's very, you have the 5 minute, the 10 minute, and do you feel like there's a difference of bringing all your materials and like going crazy and then just an iPad?
Actually not. Well, I got into digital drawing maybe like seriously for 1 year up to 2 years. It was just more convenient because I'm now currently working another side job. So it's better for me that I don't have to set up the paper and then get all the materials and then take photos and everything like that. So it's easier. Plus I'm drawing the Adobe Fresco, if you know the app. So they have the brush that I prefer. That's why I'm drawing digitally, because I feel it still gets me the result that look like as if it's really hand painted drawn. But the thing is, I have been always used to drawing really fast, or like according to my instinct, or because I believed always that art is expression. So I was always let my emotion taken over me, and then let all the kind of like I felt the incident will be the beauty of the art. And so I actually, if I compare from the past, while I was drawing with the traditional method like paper and all different kinds of materials, and now it's actually the same. It's just the method, what I used to draw, it has changed according to my current preference, but doesn't mean that they have like really core difference. If I can be having the chance to go back to the traditional while maintaining the convenience I have now, I can still do that. It's it's just a method.
It makes me want to try it on the iPad.
I recommend Adobe Fresco.
Thank you so much for showing us your beautiful work. We really appreciated it. So the next person we have chosen is Elena. A completely different feel. And I don't know if she's in this chat. Elena?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh yeah, here. Do you want to like quickly give us a rundown of your process?
Right. Yeah, sure. So actually I did this sketch super fast. It's maybe about like 20 minutes because I was confused about the time. I live in close to San Francisco, California. And the time is London. It's a huge difference, 8 hours. So yeah, when I realized that the show already started, I was like, oh my gosh, I have 25 minutes to finish. So this, I do it digital on iPad in the Procreate. So, and how I start. So I draw since I was 5 years old. And then after I jumped to the art school, then art college. And in the end, I finished my education as fashion designer. So I was so in love with fashion. And when the pandemic starts, I start to do fashion illustration based on the fashion designers, like fashion weeks. And yeah, this and digital so means like I do draw digital about like 2 years. Yes. So before I did only hand drawing with the oil, watercolor, actually any kind of material, the pastel.
Do you find it easier to like do Alt, like Control Z, like erase, whereas than when you do?
It's easy, but sometimes like recently I came back to the hand drawing, and I was feeling more pleasure for some reason, because you know you can feel that you don't have this chance for mistake. So here in iPad, if you do mistake, you erase fast and easy. But when you maybe next fashion show, I should do with the hand drawing.
Yeah.
To challenge, because I love to challenge myself. It's some beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing of this whole thing was a challenge.
Yeah. I actually I do like it, because I in a different community I also did a fashion sketches session where we had like 1 hour to complete the sketches. So I kind of get used to this routine and I love it. Yeah.
That's great. So we would like to hear from our panelists.
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
In respect, generally speaking, when you see a show, then are you drawn to a specific method, or you tend to stick to one method only? So because it seems like that, of course, as we were saying before, digital drawing it's a tool, but I'm just wondered whether, let's say, the essence of a brand is actually calls for a specific method.
So I would say no, it's not specific method. I just try to feel the collection and translate the emotions which I feel from the collection. So basically it's what kind of material they use, what kind of colors, and the mood in general. So this is, I guess, this my method. if this was your question.
Well,
sorry.
yeah, like so you get the feeling of the collection, but that feeling doesn't lead you to choose a method more than another.
I guess yes. Yeah, correct. Yes, I would say yes, because some collection, for example, if they have like light fabric and something like light, so I would go with the watercolor, because the watercolor gives this emotions and the feelings of light fabrics. So if there some of the collection has, I don't know, other, like so it depends on what kind of fabric and mood the collection has, I choose the material. So
thank you.
Sure.
Does anybody else want to go next? My panelists?
Well,
yes, of course.
Go ahead, Jackie.
This one, I think it captures the woman very well. Like HALPERN woman is a sexy woman, an assertive, decisive, bold, not a wallflower, not a delicate creature, I think. And I think he puts that forward in the bold color clashes that he does, and the kind of the techno green of the runway that he had mixed with like the bridesmaid pink with the apple green. Like everything's very loud, and it's a little bit, sometimes maybe even bad taste is good taste. And so, or like a junior Tom Ford sometimes, I think, but a lot of glamour, a lot of glitz, a lot of shine. So I think if, this one is more on brand maybe than Katya's earlier.
I'm so sorry. Somebody's at the door. Oh my gosh.
I worry what happened to me.
I'm so sorry. Hold on.
I'm waiting for my dog to walk in my door anytime, any minute now. That's so
I
funny.
thought that would be me. I thought there'd be
Yeah.
a workman or something.
Well, my husband is saying to me, oh my, he's out in the kitchen and he's saying, because we just had a big snowstorm go through. So I was like, no,
don't know
stop
who-
talking. I'm going to call.
Okay. I apologized.
No worries.
Yes. Who? Yeah, carry on. Who is? I don't know who was talking.
Jackie was.
Well, I
Oh, yeah.
think, I mean, I don't use a lot of digital in my work, but I know that I'm familiar with Sue's work, and I've seen some amazing digital drawings and artworks that she's done. So,
Thank you.
so maybe she would have a lot to say about this.
For me, this is that blend of realism and a little abstract, that really scratchy strokes of the skirt, but it shows the movement of the skirt. And it's got that little stylized element to it. And then you go up to her face, which is just so beautiful. And her hair is moving. And so for me, that's that nice combination of mixing those two genres, if you will. Like I said, I tend to focus on hyperrealism. I do get lost in the technical details, but that's why I can appreciate that quick, sketchy line so much. So I really enjoy this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mevin, did you want to add something?
Was it Elena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hi. So I really love how you made these colors pop, because from the photos of the runway also, this is what you notice first. And I just wish you used a little bit of the blue on the hair, but that's just me, because it did pull the whole look together.
Yes.
And definitely the movement. I mean, that technique, I'm not a specialist here, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. So the next person we have chose was more of we wanted to talk more about the performance art of it. I don't know if she's here, but she was doing these videos where she was adding the color, and we just wanted to like discuss the aspect of, you know, how we put videos online on Instagram. Is that more effective than actually capturing the image? Because it has a lot of motion and movement, and you see the whole process. So I don't know if, I'm not sure what you...
I'm here. Hi.
Oh, you're here.
Hi,
Do you
Connie.
have your video with you that we can see?
The video?
Of this piece that you've done?
I think I've uploaded. Hang on.
Oh, actually, let me just stop sharing my screen, and I'm just gonna pull it up on Instagram for you guys to see. Give me 1 second. Fida, Connie's crit. Ah, yes. Oh, okay. So let me share my screen again. So there we go. So we thought this was really interesting to see the process of how we get to the final stages. So I was just wondering if we can, as a panelist, talk about how you guys feel the difference is between this performance type art versus fashion illustration as an image.
Well, I don't mind saying I love watching these things on Instagram. I mean, I spend hours watching how other people do things.
Yeah.
Ridiculous amount of time. And I think that the beauty of it is, I love whatever you're using to add, like the very rich, big gold beads that were around the front there is very interesting. I think also this is like a peek behind the curtain, isn't it? So it's like if you have a really glossy, beautiful image on your Instagram or your website, and you've also scanned it and taken away all the paint marks and everything, it's beautiful, but it also, it looks kind of, it's like over there, it's a little bit distant. And, you know, for some people, it might be a little intimidating, but then you see how it's created, and it's like a wonderful, like Connie, you mentioned the word intimacy before. I think this really brings you into the intimate world of a creator at her craft, just the paper and her materials and some simple lines to create a really lovely effect. And then the little innovative quality of what you're using to create the heavy beadwork. So I think this is, and I think this is the lovely part about Instagram, that you not only see beautiful creative pieces, but you get to see, you know, it's not like there's a secret sauce. Actually, let me show you how this is made. And I think a lot of people get it. There's a vulnerability to putting your work out there in this raw state that there isn't whenever you've, you know, scanned it and made it beautiful and it's perfectly colored and everything. So I think a lot of people respond to kind of the human touch of this.
Yeah. I think what we're trying to say is that when you go to the fashion shows, it's all photographers, and then there's no illustrators there.
Right.
Like we're just like safely in our caves, just drawing away, like and then we're just showing the good bits. Whereas, and I feel like how are we going to be seen? How are we going to be a part of this dialogue and conversation when we're not there physically to show what we can do and show this part of, you know, I think I went to a show a couple times, and people were actually filming me draw with the show, and it was quite nice to see how it kind of goes together. But I think that's the part that we're trying to discuss in terms of how we can get ourselves back in there, because photography is such a big thing, and you know, obviously we have to compete with that and also make money as an artist, as a creative person. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, just one more thing. I also think that it adds to the event.
Yes.
I think like if there's an illustrator's presence there, it's something a little bit special that the audience gets a lot out of. I don't think the audience engages with a photographer because it's on behind the lens. They're expected to be there. There's an army of them. They're a little bit scary, the flashes, but one illustrator was standing with an easel, or I saw it on Instagram recently. The London illustrator Sue Dre was
at yes, I saw that too.
And I was like, oh, I would be watching her, not the show, because it's such a lovely thing.
It's performance piece, and I understand what you're saying. I remember when photography almost made illustration disappear forever. And I think we've had a resurgence in the past 10, 15 years plus. I think we've also evolved into something more than just advertising in the New York Times. I mean, fashion illustration is all over the place now.
Yeah.
More than I've ever seen. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but more than I've ever seen. And it's fabulous. And social media and technology has so much to do with that. But like Jackie was saying, and I think photography and illustration can coexist. We're different. You see all the photographers, as you said, taking all the pictures, but then you have the artist over here with the easel, and everyone wants to go see what they're doing. It's just a different animal.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I also think that perhaps we need to let go of a certain construct of a fashion magazine, for instance, which is such an obsolete perspective, or if you want, and I might be controversial here, but say even Fashion Week is obsolete as a construct in the fashion business. So when we start moving away from these kind of constructs, and that actually we can start reintegrating illustration into a different discourse, as of course, like the online perspective, like as we are seeing now, it's absolutely fascinating. But now we have more opportunities to push different agendas without actually competing any longer. Everything can quietly coexist. Fact is that we're still attached to certain constructs like a fashion magazine.
Yeah.
It's a bit old, if you see what I mean.
What do you think is a new approach?
Well, I think as I just said, it's like possibly we need to leave behind the old in order to go and find a new. And I think it's like, I'm looking at certain publication, and I come from magazine, I run few magazines, and they make sense when we are looking at them from a more organic and holistic perspective. So as a touch point that exists in different formats. And I'm actually supervising a student who's doing like the evolution of magazine into, so we were discussing fashion drawings in it, but I'm saying to her, look, start looking at the evolution of fashion magazines into a format that it's not necessarily only printed. Printed, it's the moment in time that you want to offer to your clients as a collection piece. So for instance, drawing comes into more than photography to a certain extent. But I think that as soon as we start letting go of the past, perhaps we can approach what the future will be.
Yeah. So interesting.
And I think fashion has that problem. It is, for all it's looking forward, it has a huge problem letting go of the past and the way things have always been done.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yeah.
But I guess we have a problem with communication per se, because it's valid for television, it's valid for fashion magazines and for many other rules, and even within the online perspective, certain platforms are becoming old, Facebook for instance. So that again is how we want to make something relevant coexisting within the fashion sphere.
Yeah, definitely.
I think as well, to your point, I think illustration started to emerge because you couldn't do photo shoots and you couldn't get people together to style the big magazine editorials because of COVID. And up emerges illustration because everyone can do it at home and they can post it by themselves on social media. So sometimes we can't see the wood for the trees. We need it to be removed from us in order to find other ways.
Definitely. I think COVID has changed so many things for everybody, hasn't it? In terms of, even doing a photo shoot is difficult because you all need to get checked.
I did a lot of online Zoom drawing last year, and recently Connie's class.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
I'll never forgive you for 2-minute poses, but that's all right.
Oh yeah. Those are the ones, that challenging one.
They did.
Speaking of that, I actually, because I was like panicking, nobody's gonna do anything. So I did a few myself.
Oh my goodness.
So I just, I've been painting over, I have this sketchbook. It's my old sketchbook that I'm just painting over drawings I hate, to like save paper and not do waste. So I'm actually starting acrylics. So I've been painting acrylics on top of old drawings. So you can probably see a hand right here in the back. And I just think it adds towards the drawing of, it goes with the times. I feel like sustainability, not wasting paper, and like, that's a big thing that I'm trying to focus on, is to kind of recycle things. So I've been doing some collage, if you've seen my previous work, where it's like just drawings I hate and I pile them up. And then I cut them later and then reuse them into new works of art, which I think was quite interesting. So I wanted to get some of the panelists' feedback.
Oh my gosh, I love her face. I love her face.
Well, I think that the thing that, because I know your work, Connie, and what I love about it is you're not precious. Like there's a quality to your work that reminds me of when I first started putting sketchbooks together at college, that the beauty of like the book in itself. And if the book sat and wouldn't close, if it sat like this, I was much more happy than if it sat like this, like it didn't close. And the tactile quality and the feeling of the paper when you turn it, and the feeling of paper when it's clogged with paint, like all of these artistic things that you love when you're a student, and then as you get into the industry and whatever avenue you follow, you kind of lose that. Everything becomes a little much more glossy, a little bit more flat. And so I love the fact as well that you're reusing old drawings, because I think it's one thing that we have, especially if you're doing hand drawing, I think that it's part of the whole slow fashion movement. And I think it's not dissimilar to how we've gone into like appreciating artisanal craft. Like there's no difference in what you're doing here than someone who, you know, hand weaves bags, you know, in a village or whatever. We appreciate them much more than we ever did. So I think hand illustration's really going to come into its own. And then if it has these little touches of having had a past life or little ghosts of previous sketches emerging in the current ones, I think that just adds to the, you know, the beauty of it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I agree. I agree with Jackie. Absolutely.
But there's also something incredibly poetic about this picture and all the other pictures as well, which they all contribute to the discourse of not necessarily wanting to look at fashion shows pictures. It becomes more like a catalog. I love these shoes, I love this. So I start drawing a list of things that I might like or not, as opposed to looking at fashion drawing that makes me dream, gives me the feelings of a collection, and brings me back into the idea, the idealized idea of luxury, for instance, is something that it's really remote, yet visible. So I find that there is a function within the discourse of rarefied world of fashion and luxury that is perfect for it.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Connie, I really like how I can feel the texture coming out of the paper and also the dégradé effect that you've got there. And so for some reason, I can see a teddy bear in the middle.
Oh, a teddy bear. Maybe it was a teddy bear. I don't know. Oh, thank you. I have also another one, last one that I'll share with you guys. This was it's more of my old style drawing because, like you said, I get obsessed with hyperrealism. So right now, even after this conversation, I feel like I need to explore being a bit more looser and abstract and seeing everybody's work as well, you know, quick, because I can get a bit controlling if I'm left to my own devices, you know. So I love these shows and I love doing the quick ones especially. And as you know, I try to practice life drawing as much as I can just to get that feel for being able to not regurgitate, that's a weird word, but kind of, you know, spill your guts out onto the page really quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The weird analogy, but yeah.
It's dynamic drawing from life. It's just so different.
Yeah.
And I can see the person in the background.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But that adds to it. It adds to it.
Yeah.
There's also kind of a little bit, this one is immediately recognizable from the show. But there is, like, I love the way you've rendered the pink. It's almost like old Vogue illustrations from the 30s, where you have the flat, dusty sort of pink, and then you go in with a red to give the folds. I really see that. And also the background with the suggestion of, you know, attendees at the show. I think it does evoke.
Yeah.
And I'm interested, I think it's interesting that you call yourself controlling. Because I sometimes when I look at your sketchbooks, I think, no, you're just free, you're just filling pages. It's like you've lost track of time. But so it's interesting the point of view from the creator versus the point of view of what I'm seeing you create, you know?
Yeah. I think it's amazing to get all this feedback because, you know, as a person who's drawing, you're just into your own world and you don't really think about other people's suggestions. So it's really, this talk has been really valuable, I'm sure, to others to kind of know and what other people think about your work, because you just don't know, do you?
No, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah, and I just think we need more of this kind of dialogue going on. And it feels like it's helpful for everybody. I don't know about the panelists, but
oh, absolutely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. How is it, especially with Mevin and I can't see your face, sorry. like you guys come from a luxury background in terms of like journalism, and how is it different seeing these kind of artworks, like from your perspective?
As I was mentioning before, for me, it gives that kind of enhances the idea of a rarefied brand, and it's quite unobtainable, that it's an essence, that it represents, is not necessarily attached to component of a fashion collection, but it's more linked to the idea of what a brand stands for. So it's hugely important in order to build, again, that kind of connection between client and brand, in terms of, let's say, the dream logic of what a brand stands for.
Definitely. And do you
for me also, I think it's a natural link between luxury and art and illustration, because so many designers have published books, you know, of their illustrations. And now with a new NFT thing as well, there was a designer in India, a really big designer, who sold one of his illustrations online to an American. I don't know for how much rupees. I don't understand the rupees yet, but I mean, someone bought the illustration, you know.
Wow, in fashion. I feel like that
NFT,
hasn't happened yet.
So that's good news.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that's a realm. I don't know if everybody knows about NFTs, but
it's like the
bit.
cloud.
Learning.
It's like I know about it, but I don't understand it, you know?
Yeah,
I watched a YouTube video about it and I'm still kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I do feel like in fashion drawing, especially in the art world, it's not really as known, I would say, as like digital, like in terms of that NFT, it's more of a digital art type thing. So that's really cool how that fashion designer sold an illustration. That's really hard to do.
I think also Jason Brooks has done a whole series in the last month and been selling them.
Oh, really?
And I think David Downton also. It's creeping in, guys. It is in. It's in the door.
It's in the door. Yeah, definitely. Super interesting. Does anybody have any other like questions or comments towards the panelists if you're participating in the talk? Silence.
You know, Patrick asked a question. Mevin, Jackie, and Fabio and Sue, as educators, what is the role of drawing in fashion education, even for fashion and buying or editorial? I mean, for me, I think that it's essential, but there is a little bit of a scary thing that's happening here in the States anyway, in that illustration is now being taught solely digitally for bizarre reasons in some schools, which I object to enormously. I think you need to.
I totally agree. I mean, I've been drawing digitally for a very long time, but I also draw on paper and tracing paper and canvas and everything else. I mean, you've got to do both. Although the first, I was drawing on paper and I made a mistake and I looked for the Control Z. I'm like, oh, okay, that would be my eraser. But I think both is so important. You've got to be up on the latest digital techniques, but you've got to know how to do it old school. I think, again, like photography and illustration can coexist. The two methods can coexist. I think you have to know both. There's nothing like the feeling of paper and pencil and paint and all that too.
Yeah, it's like when you buy a new book and you open it and you smell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Touching the covers and stuff.
Or new pencils, or I think I've also had students who, because of COVID and were working in isolation, they could only submit their work digitally, and so their iPad, you know, is broken and it's in the Genius bar for 3 days, and they are at a halt. They don't know how to proceed. This is a new conundrum. They do not know to pick up paper and pencil. It's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So I think that is freaks me out enormously, because I think they're missing out on so much of the joy, and they're executing it fine, but their execution, I think you need the step of drawing first by hand in order to effectively use technology to make it, you know, better. And they're missing that.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love,
Anyway.
oh, I'm sorry, Jackie. Who doesn't love walking into an art store and looking at all the products and going, okay, I'm here.
Everything in every color.
I know, right?
Yeah, sometimes I do feel like when I'm teaching, so many students are afraid of the blank page. And I don't know if it has to do anything with technology or the phone, but I found that students find it difficult to just jump in and then do a line and just get straight into that drawing. There's all that expectation of, am I going to be good enough, or am I going to create that perfect drawing? And I personally had that a lot when I was a student, and I realized, like, one day, like Gigi said, I was like, fuck it, just jump in, and I took marker and I just like scribbled, and that really helped me, I feel like, jump to the next level. So if you think about yourself, you're playing a video game, you're trying to level up into the creative journey, you have like steps that you need to do. I think that was the first step for me, to just jump in and go in with a tool that you can't erase. So you're committed to the line. So I found that really helpful. But I do feel like everything is going, like the younger generation is using a lot of digital tools. So you can definitely feel the shift.
It's sometimes they question for example, the first year with us, we only do hand drawing. And then the second year we digitalize. So many of the students question why, because they can do all that stuff on digital, devices. And we tend to tell them that, to be agile, especially people who haven't drawn much before, it's training of your muscles and to really have those movements. And then you can enhance it with the use of digital, but it's the same for pattern cutting. We do physical pattern cutting first and then digitalize in the second year. So getting those hands to really know how to move and know how to, hold a pencil and do beautiful work. Like we just saw the little video, it was hypnotic to see, how just with a confident stroke of the brush, it's a silhouette, no? And that takes a lot of muscle training.
Yeah, and observational.
Yeah.
Drawing what you see.
It's like, I feel like it's drawing what you see and then drawing how you feel.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's a last question. I don't know if we've discussed this, maybe we can discuss it again. So as educators, what's the role of drawing in fashion education? In terms, even for fashion and buying or editorial or fashion communication?
I think it would help to have an understanding of it, sort of a foundation of it. That's my thought.
I think it's in a broader perspective is the concept of knowing everything else that is out there, to communicate, to create something that you're building a brand or building a concept. And it's very, very important for, as we were saying just now, it's very, very important for the students to not only know that they can do it by just drawing, not necessarily digitally, but also that something exists. And I was quite puzzled by the idea that students are feeling sort of anxious at starting a drawing, because if you're ruining a piece of paper, and I totally understand it, but at the same time, it's our role, perhaps it's the one of, whether it's drawing or anything else, is to give the confidence of trying and then moving on and become very confident in what they do.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really also about communicating ideas, in terms of your concept and how you want the outfit to look, but also the emotion and personality of the model. It's all comes together in terms of the mood and the vibe of your collection. If you don't draw it, whether it's physical or digitally, I mean, it's hard to, explain.
yeah, it's still a very visual industry. It always will be. And like you can describe something, but if you can draw it on whatever way you draw it, it will speak to people because it already looks like a real thing. So it's easier to realize. And I remember even, it's been a while now, but when I used to work in Italy with George Armani, and I would work with his factories, they had already received the flats, the technical sketches, but they, whenever I would visit them, wanted to see the illustration. Even though they were dealing in the technical side of things, they wanted to see the mood. They wanted to see what Mr. Armani was responding to. They wanted to see what the collection, how it was captured. Whereas a technical illustration, a technical drawing can't give you that. So yeah, I think illustration speaks in a powerful way to everyone. Whether it's just aspirationally, I would love to wear that, or I'd love to own that, or I'd love to draw that, or I would love to make that. You know, I think whereas you can't talk through how something is going to look or how it's going to fall, and so fashion technical drawings have become, you know, since I worked at Armani, they're the language for speaking with factories, but I still think that illustration communicates in a much more emotional way.
I think that's why people are so drawn and gravitating towards fashion illustration. Especially in the last couple of years, it's become so big. Maybe, like you said, it was because of COVID and everybody's like, I want to draw now. But fashion is such a big, special topic, and it's great that we're all here to talk about it.
You know, I'm thinking about it. I think drawing is one of the first things you do as a small child with your crayons and your coloring books. I mean, it's almost instinctive. And as you grow, you might go into different fields, but some of us stay in that field.
Yeah.
But it's a very primal sort of need to draw.
Primal. That's a good word, primal. I like that.
Very primal.
Yeah. I'm feeling primal too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to thank everybody for joining us on the first Crits and going through all the bumps and things with me. And I want to say it was so lovely to just sit and talk about it. And we're trying to make more discussion. There's another one tomorrow if everybody would like to join, if you have time. So it's on, if you see the flyers, it's on every day until Tuesday. And then we have 2 more talks on March 3rd. Yeah, so
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's give all a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lovely conversation.
Patrick.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Connie, and everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.